The housing market is exploding at record highs. How long will this bubble last? Since the start of this pandemic, we've seen many changes. The stock market crash.
There are fears that the Dow will drop and drop quickly, and we're already seeing that. Futures over the weekend were down so much that they actually had to put an emergency trigger that stopped
the foreseeable future. The economic blow to cruise lines that are saying we will no longer take passengers. The economic blow of people canceling travel, of airlines saying that they're seeing business down dramatically.
Stock market surge.
Property Group, my heavens. I mean, Simon Property Group was $60 6 trading sessions ago, 7 trading sessions ago. Look at this. It's $80. That's 30% move in some of these big REITs here. Same with the travel stocks. Is
nationwide lockdown.
The urgent message to stay home appears to finally be getting through. In California, the notoriously busy highways are nearly empty. The hustle and bustle of New York is at a standstill. Governors in 4 states have now asked residents not to go out unless absolutely necessary.
Economic crash.
More than 30% of Americans have not made their full housing payments for July, including 19% who made no housing payments at all. And as some unemployment benefits are set to expire at the end of the month, we could expect to see a number of defaults to increase.
Civil unrest. And in the midst of all that happening, something was brewing behind the scenes that crept up on us. Yes, I'm talking about the housing market. It began to pick up speed and get super hot in the midst of all that stuff happening. That mixed with other economic factors that were a result of the pandemic has produced the hottest real estate market and most competitive market in history, which has brought us to where we are now. Housing going for record prices, coupled with the lowest levels of inventory in history.
This morning, bidding wars for homes popping up across the country.
And now, if that wasn't bad enough, on April 28th, news came out that the Biden administration is pushing for a law that will effectively destroy the 1031 exchange as we know it. This, of course, is a tax deferment benefit to real estate investors. So is the current housing market sustainable like this? Or will this new news of the 1031 exchange be the nail in the coffin that brings the whole house of cards down? What's up, guys? It's Mike here, and we have a lot to cover today, so I'm going to get right into it. So unless you've been living under a rock the last year or so, then you're probably aware of the state of our real estate market. This has created a seller's market like never before and an absolute buying frenzy. In this video, I will cover why the market is so hot, when and if it will slow down, and what all this means for you as an investor, buyer, or seller. Oh, and real quick, guys, if you want to get 2 free stocks valued at $50, then click the link below in the description to get started on Webull today with a deposit of $100. You can also trade all your cryptocurrencies on there as well. So what is causing this to be the hottest real estate market in history? I can say for sure that there are a few that are a direct result of the pandemic and some of the economic issues that we've seen as a result. The change in how families across America are adjusting to remote life and working from home, which, by the way, is changing the type of home that people are looking for. And in the midst of that, creating a ton of extra moving for either upsizing or downsizing. To add to this, there is a building material shortage, coupled with massive workforce disruption, resulting in a housing boom that we've never seen before. And don't get me started on low interest rates either. Just talk to a parent or a grandparent that was alive and buying homes in the 1970s or early 1980s. Those people were paying 22% interest rate just to buy a home. Fast forward to today, we're facing new challenges, which is resulting in the most competitive housing market in history. To make matters worse, home builders are putting up homes in record numbers, but they're running into a problem as well. They cannot keep up with the demand because they can't get building materials fast enough. Things like lumber, roofing, and sheetrock are getting harder and harder to come by. And as a result, the price of these materials has skyrocketed 200% in 2021 alone. This situation could have long-lasting effects on the supply chain, and those constraints will make it impossible to produce the materials needed to keep up with consumer demand, which will keep prices sky high for the next 18 to 24 months. This means that, at least for now, housing costs could not only remain high, but creep even higher as the increased cost of building gets passed along to you, the consumer. In fact, some economic analysts are saying that this next housing crisis may be a direct result of supply chain shortages and low inventory equating to sky-high prices. Even more news is new proposals to eliminate zoning and certain land use policies like minimum lot size, mandatory parking requirements, and prohibitions on multifamily housing in some metro areas across the country. For example, in the Bay Area, some lawmakers are already proposing bills that will drastically change zoning requirements and thus affect where people can build and how they can build. If these zoning requirements get lifted, there will be housing built in places that normally would be off limit. There's also new proposals on multifamily housing and restrictions being put on an asset class which is already facing great pressure and going to suffer in the long term due to the news about the 1031 exchange. But I'll save more of that for its own video. One way to ease a housing burden could be to rewrite zoning restrictions for cities experiencing a huge shortage. I mean, not everyone that lives in a metro area needs parking or a garage. Some people in cities rely solely on public transportation. But since this proposed plan could take about 10 years to actually come to fruition, that probably won't give any immediate relief to the housing crisis we are experiencing today. And also, because this gives a tax incentive, some wealthier cities may not jump for it because they don't actually need the money. So in short, the plan from my perspective has some good intentions, but will ultimately fail, as most government programs do, because it won't have any impact whatsoever on the current state of the housing market if these laws take forever to be passed and then enacted. At the end of the day, the housing market does not show any signs of slowing down whatsoever. Interest rates are expected to stay low for at least another 2 years. And from the reports I've been reading, it could take 18 months or longer for the cost of building materials to come down in price. And until that happens, guess what? There's still a housing shortage. While it's true, nothing lasts forever, I don't really see an end in sight for this current situation. Plus, with the number of buyers far outweighing the number of sellers, eventually a few things will happen. Either people will get a place, they'll sell and downsize and live with family, or they'll just give up and stay where they're at. And when enough people do this, eventually the playing field will level out. But until that happens, if you're a buyer, just remember to be patient, have a really good agent that can write really good offers that get accepted, because your competition is fierce. Be ready to waive most contingencies and overpay for the property. And only purchase the property if you plan to stay in it for at least 5 to 10 years. That way, if the market does drop, it won't have an immediate impact on you. Let's face it, guys, the market is stronger than ever, but as we've seen in the past, anything can happen at any time. Factors like rising interest rates, more inventory, a supply chain rebound, and a government policy enacted could have a drastic effect on our current housing market. But in the short term, if nothing does change, then prices could continue to rise as inventory continues to shrink. So what does all this mean for you? Well, for investors, it's incredibly challenging to find a good deal right now. With inventory being so low, sellers do not have to sell to a wholesaler or an investor at 70 to 80 cents on the dollar. They know that they can list their home on the market and get well over asking price for it. Hell, they know they'll have a bidding war over it. You should see some of the stuff going on with these homes. The prices are sky high and people are buying the homes 70% over asking price. That's insanity. For buyers, it's equally as hard to find a home that doesn't have 40 to 60 offers on it. Yeah, that's right, guys, 40 to 60. That's crazy. And for buyers who don't have a lot of extra capital aside from what they're bringing to the closing table, you're gonna be knocked out. I know it's a tough pill to swallow, but it's true, because you'll have to guarantee the price over and above whatever the home appraises for in order to even have a chance to get your offer accepted. So if you don't have the capital reserves to cover that spread, you're going to be knocked out by the guy who does. Also, you have to consider, if you're a finance buyer, you're competing against buyers who are waiving all contingencies because they're paying cash. They don't have any due diligence, they don't have an appraisal, they just want the house and they're willing to pay way over and above to get it. That makes competing with a financed offer that has all those contingencies next to impossible to get accepted. While this scenario creates a dream type situation for sellers, it creates a living nightmare for buyers. And for sellers, again, it's the best of times until they do sell and make all that profit, but then they're faced with the same problem as buyers where they can't get any inventory, and now they're making bids, and all that profit that they did make on their house, they're just putting back into an overinflated asking price just to get another place to live. And for those of you renters out there, don't think I didn't forget about you too. That situation is even worse. For example, in Las Vegas right here, some single rentals are receiving upwards of 300 applications for a single rental. Now talk about picking the cream of the crop.
Ooh, that I'm the cream of the crop.
And what happens is you end up spending a bunch of money in rental application fees and getting rejected continuously, unless you happen to have the best application. So if you do not need to move or sell, I wouldn't. I would stay put and ride this out. Yes, you could be missing some great capital gains on the sell side, but then again, once you now are a buyer and you've sold, you'll be putting that money all back into an overinflated purchase on another house, and you'll lose those capital gains that you just realized. By the way, guys, if you are serious about growing your YouTube channel and are looking for a tool that not only connects to your channel but gives you great analytics, then you need to check out vidIQ. Link in the description below. So guys, if you enjoyed that video, pound the like button for me, hit the subscribe button, click the notification bell, as I'll be pumping out videos weekly right here on my channel. Thanks so much. I'll see you on the next one.